Gonna wait a minute or so. Hopefully some people will get on. We'll see. So as we're waiting for people to come on, we are going to do Peter Frampton's Do You Feel Like We Do? We'll do an improv session on that one. So instead of going over, it's a great jam tune. So instead of going over something that says, hey, how are we going to play the solo exactly? I mean, depends on which version you're talking about with Frampton. But hey, Andy or Andrew, how you doing? Hopefully seeing some people on. Looks like we've got 10 or 15 people. Hey, Matt. How's it sounding, any of you guys? Does it sound okay, Mitch or Andy? Awesome, great, cool. Well, as we're kind of waiting for some people to get on, maybe we'll wait a couple of more minutes. We're going to do like I said, kind of a stuff around improving to Peter Frampton's Do You Feel Like We Do? And, it's one thing to learn a solo exactly, but there's so many versions out there. And what if, you're jamming with buddies or whatever? So awesome. So this is the first time I've done this. I'm really kind of excited to do this and a little bit nervous about the technology and about all this, just doing it live. I shouldn't be that nervous. I had to give a talk in New York City to a ton of accountants. There were 100 people who showed up to the talk. I didn't know any of them. I'm not an accountant. And I had a half hour to talk to them about statistics and stuff like that. And anyway, it went great. So hopefully you guys aren't quite as tough a crowd as the accountants. All right. Well, why don't we get started now? I think we've got like 14, 15 people on, which is great. And we get a few more people on. That would be awesome. All right. So one other thing this is just kind of random stuff. I've tried out, I don't know, I think I did a while back, I did a thing on picks. And I don't like the really big picks, the normal size picks. So I've been using these John Petrucci picks, and they're beloved for me. But I think I found a better one. I found these Ultex Jazz ones, and they're just great. The only thing that sucks about them is that when they fall on the floor, you can't see them. So I'm gonna have to figure that one out. All right. So why don't we get started on the kind of the lesson portion, then we'll do comments or questions or any of that kind of stuff. So for Do You Feel Like We Do? I'm sure a lot of you guys know that. Looks like it's going to the top chant. Okay. We're going to cover that middle section. Okay. So the middle section is really kind of this. That kind of thing, playing that over. And it's a really fun one to jam on because there's lots of different options. And I just want to show you some different ways that I would approach it. And then I think you can approach it too. So, the first and maybe the obvious way is to actually play what Frampton's playing, right? And it's fun to learn that kind of thing. You can learn his first solo. I don't have one of those voice things, so I can't do that. But you could learn his first solo, like the. And that kind of thing. But that only gets you so far because, if you ever listen to Frampton's other versions, like his version at the Midnight Special, and I think actually during some of those concerts, he was doing 20, 25-minute versions of this stuff. He's obviously playing his own stuff too. Mike is starting to clip, so let me turn that down a little bit. Thank you for telling me that. Appreciate that. Hopefully it won't clip now. Okay. So we turn down the mic just a little bit. Let me turn it down just a little bit more. Hopefully that's good. Good. All right. Hopefully that's a little bit better. So that's one way to do it. But let's kind of dissect the chords, if we will. So we've got for that one we've got a D major. You can play a D seventh if you want to, but it's a majory type of thing. Okay, to an F, and that's another major type of chord. To a C, and back to a D, and then this little turnaround, which is an A, C, D. And so if we think about that, we can, well, the first approach might be to just try notes that are in the chord, right? So that one works pretty well. Let me see if I can turn on the back. I have a little backing track here. Let's see if I can turn on a backing track here. So hopefully you can hear that backing track. Can you hear the backing track? Wait to see if somebody says you can hear the backing track. I think we're hearing it. All right, cool. All right, so we can just play the chords, right? Stuff around the chords. And you can see I was struggling a little bit to play something interesting because if you just play the chords, it's kind of boring, right? But the chords, the chord tones are really good ones to know. Now, the thing that's a little bit different, is that with this lick, or with this chord structure, you go from a D to an F. And you probably know that the third of D major is an F sharp. So that F sharp is really going to be clashy when you get to that F, right? And you can look at that in two different ways. You can say, well, that's going to be a problem for me, or you can try to take advantage of it, right? So I want to share with you at least one way that I think is really simple. If we look at that chord structure again, that D to that F, that's a minor third that's going up, right? So it's 1.5 steps. So that probably means that the D minor pentatonic would be okay. And let's in fact try that. If you learn some of Frampton's licks, like that one I played before. What is that? Like something like this. Well, that was terrible, but it's something like that, right? And those are all D minor pentatonic sorts of licks. And those are great. So you can certainly just play the D minor pentatonic around that. And if we try some of that, we'll try some of just a D minor pentatonic or blues scale, right? So. And that's great, but if you want to take off, if you want to take in some of that, instead of thinking about the scale, just think about playing D minor pentatonic. But when you hit that D, whenever you play the D, occasionally you mix in the major third of D. So instead of playing a lick like this, you can play. And it makes all the difference. So let me show you some of that, or see if I can on that. Let's let it kind of come in for a second. Here we go. Okay. So you see, by just playing one simple note that's different, you're just playing a minor pentatonic or a D minor pentatonic. If you just play that one note, that you notice that the chord is different on the major versus the minor. On the F and the C, you're playing the minor, and on the D, you can just play that F sharp note. Just playing that one note makes a huge, huge difference. And anyway, it doesn't, to me, it's not like a huge leap of saying, oh, you need to play all chord tones or you need to know modal scales. Like in the old days, if I would approach this, I would have said, I'm going to play a D mixolydian over the D chord, and over the F and over the C, I'm going to play a D Dorian, and then back to the D mixolydian, and that also works. If you think about that one more time, I don't know, for those of you who know some modal theory, and it's kind of nice to be able to play some major scale notes or notes that are in between there. If you know some modal theory, you can play over the D major, you play a G major scale. So, right, like this. Sounds great, right? And then over the F and the C, you play the C major scale. So check this out, right? So over the D, we're playing stuff like this. And over the C, we're playing just one note difference. And again, it makes a bit of a difference in the playing. So anyway, that's just for what it's worth. I think it's you can use some really simple structures that you're used to probably already. Many of you, or most of you, are comfortable with playing over like a minor pentatonic or a blues scale. And the only difference is you can say, well, if I'm analyzing it from a chord structure perspective, that D, when I play that D, that F sharp is a key note. And that's going to differ from when I play over the F or the C, which have different notes in them. Anyway, which don't have that F sharp in the scale. So that F sharp is really a key note. And your ears really pick up on it. If you listen to Frampton now, you'll hear a lot of times when he's going to that D. Not every time, because if you do it every time, then your ears kind of get used to it, and your audience kind of gets used to it as well. You can overdo it. But if you do it once in a while, it's really effective. So anyway, so I don't know if you guys have any questions or things like that, but that's pretty much what I was going to cover today. And so I don't know if you have any other questions about improving or improving over that or anything like that. If you have any questions, that'd be great. No questions. All right. Well, maybe we just kind of end it then with some improv over this. It'd be awesome if you guys tell me other things that we can cover on these live. Go Croatia. Yeah, I don't know. I can't say go US because they're not left in it. It's Croatia and France, right? So if you have any songs or types of things that you want to go over, let me know, and that would be great. Could I put in a transcription for this song? Yeah, so, I'm not going to do 14-minute solo and put that in. I think what I'd like to do is do the first Frampton solo. I think it's such a great one, and put that in, and I could do that, and then we could also do some other, one or two of the things that maybe I can improvise or semi-improvise, create one of my own, and do that. But I think it's a great jam tune. So yeah, happy to do that. put it on the list, so to speak. That list is so long, but Frampton's one of my favorite guitar players. I think he's one of the best. I don't know why he never shows up on these top 10 lists. He's an amazing player. How do I play the scales so fast? Well, I think it's not so much like that. Well, there's technique, right? There's being able to play, and I've switched picks again, but there's being able to play like the picking fast, and you know, that's one thing. And then there's being able to identify the scales as you're going through them. You know, if you're changing scales, it's important to be able to see them on the different parts of the fretboard. I don't always really think scales. I think in terms of chords. So if I can identify where the chords are, then I can identify where the scales are really quickly, or the scale shapes. I mean, that's how I remember them. And my ear, over years, I'm getting up in years now. I've been playing for a while. My ear kind of figures out a lot of the things. A lot of times I'm not thinking about the scales at all. So, but in terms of the technique, boy, there's some different exercises that we could do. But probably the simplest thing I can tell you is that if you want to be a better picker, if you want to pick better, take a month and don't do anything but picking. And make sure that you're picking every note. Don't do any of this stuff. Don't do any of that. And I know it's really hard because all of our great rock licks involve some sort of pulling off. That sounds great, right? So try and do that with picking, and eventually your picking will get more dexterous and all that. Sometimes people like to put on a metronome and kind of work up. I never did that, but it's a good practice. Yeah, so there's a question on understanding the logic of the modes. Yeah, so the way that I think about the modes, primarily, there's a couple of different ways of thinking about the modes, but I think the most powerful way of thinking about them is just the modes are different major scales that you play over different chord progressions or implied chord progressions. So if you learn what's called the harmonized major scale, which I think a number of you know, but the first, like if I'm playing in C, it would be a C major, a D minor, E minor, F major, G major, although it's a dominant 7 would work as well, but G major. Okay, then let's see, G, after G comes A, A minor, B diminished, and C major. So anytime you see a minor chord, you can think, like if I see an A minor chord, I can think, oh, that A minor would fit into a C major scale, but also could be the 2 chord in the G major scale. So I could play, you know, either one of the modes that are associated with that. That's very high level. But modes are just major scales started at different points within that major scale. So if you translate in your brain to say, okay, if I hear an A minor, I can either play an C major scale or I can play a G major scale, because A minor is the 2 chord of G. And that works. That's the modal thing. So I tend to think of, I know there's a lot of people who really hate this way of thinking and say that it's totally wrong, but I can tell you that it's served me pretty well. And that is to say, okay, if I take that harmonized major scale and I just think of what are the flavor of the chords, like if I see an A minor, like I said, I can think of that as either a G major scale or a C major scale, and then play it over that. Now, if I have some other chords that I'm playing in a progression, like if I have a chord progression that goes from G to A minor to B minor. Now, all those chords fit into G major, so I wouldn't pick a C major for that progression. I'd pick a G major for that progression. So when you have more chords, you can use that clue or those clues. Like, for example, in the Frampton, where we were playing an F major followed by a C major. Both of those chords fit into the C major scale. So a C major mode would work well over both of those chords. But D major doesn't fit into the C major scale. In the C major scale, D is a minor chord. So you have to pick something else there. So that's why I picked Mixolydian. But anyway, that's a little bit beyond what we're going to go to today. Yeah. So awesome. See if I can see a few more here. The chat keeps disappearing on me, which is a bit of a disappointment. Yeah, Citizen B. I agree. I think with the modes, I think you need to spend some. If you want to play modally, I think today, what people call playing modally is just really just playing the major scale and playing those notes instead of playing a minor pentatonic. Like if you're playing a minor pentatonic or a major pentatonic, the beauty of the pentatonic scales is that they take out the third. There's no third in there, right? So if I'm playing over a D, like this D7, the minor pentatonic over D works great. And it's because I don't have that third in the chord. Now, if I play a D minor, I have the third of the chord, but if not, if I play the D major. So it doesn't have it. And so it's easier to sort of not make mistakes. But on the other hand, that third is a really important note for your ears because it helps you differentiate. Like the only difference between a D major, right, this, and D minor is that third of the chord. So because of that, it can help you do that. But I don't think you need modes to do that. I like the approach of saying, let's take a home scale like a D major, like a D minor pentatonic, and then just figure out sort of which chords do I need to play deliberately over, or can I play deliberately over, like in this case, the D. And then if I play the third of D, it's going to sound great. So, I mean, I really think it's that simple. If you spend some time doing that, you'll find that you're finding that F sharp all over the neck. And one of the classic cases, I think, is the way that Frampton's playing those octaves at the end. And I'll just kind of share with you that he's kind of going down each of those scales and coming back up, but he's really just playing with a third of the chord. So when he's playing like this, did you hear I just changed the third of the chord there? Now there's the major third. And he switches between those rather effortlessly. And it's just kind of, he's just playing around with it. It's really kind of fun how he does that, I think. In a minor song with a 4 chord, you tend to play them a minor 6, depending on whether the 4 chord is major or minor or natural or flatted 6th. Oh, that, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, if you, yeah, so if you're playing like on the 4 chord, if you're playing that minor 6th sound, it's really distinct. So yeah, you can really bring that out. If you're not, if you're just playing the regular 4 chord, you can emphasize either the oops, I'm sorry, if I'm playing an A minor and I go to D minor, I can emphasize this note right here and play it, or I can just play the minor pentatonic. Either one's fine, but it's a good question. And it sort of depends on my mood for the day. Yeah, arpeggios are tough. I mean, I think if you learn the arpeggios, I find that just if you're playing chords and trying to just play between chords and emphasizing arpeggios, really emphasizing the arpeggios, you really have to think about chromatics and switching around where you play those chords. So if I'm going to, if we take the Frampton thing, which I think is a tough one to just play for arpeggios, right? So if I'm playing over that D major, or I could play D7th arpeggio. So instead of just playing that arpeggio, I might just emphasize those notes. So I'm using a lot of chromatics between that stuff. And then if you want to go to the next chord, you kind of walk up chromatically to that. So there's a lot of chromatic walking. I was really trying to play the chords and arpeggios over those chords on that time. And I think you could probably hear me changing the chords from a D to an F to a C. And really kind of emphasizing, where's that next chord on there. And again, I don't even think arpeggios. I really just think of chord shapes when I try to do that. It's probably just a limitation that I have, because when I was younger, I learned scales instead of arpeggios. And I was a very scale type player, which I think has handicapped me over the years. My playing sometimes tends to just emphasize scales, which is kind of a bummer. But anyway. All right. Awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one. I think we've been going for 27 minutes. We have a few minutes left for maybe questions or what have you. But what other topics do you want to do? Maybe that's a good question for this. What other topics do you want to have sort of live streaming? Basic blues or other types of music, licks, or I don't know if you like what would be the approach to the finger picking. Well, you and me both. We need one of those. I need lessons on finger picking. I do a lot of picking fingers because I damaged my thumb on a soup can years ago, and I never really got the full use of my thumb back, so it's not there. I can do finger picking, but I'm no Tommy Emmanuel. Maybe I'll try and get Tommy to come and do one of these for us. Blues and rock. Oh, Steve Cropper stuff. Yeah, okay, we can definitely do that. Yeah, that's near and dear to my heart. The Steve Cropper and sort of the early Motown type of. All great stuff. I love all that stuff. Kind of goes with that. More Gilmore. Okay. More Gilmore. I'm glad somebody said that. Gilmore is he's so hard to get because he doesn't play many notes. So it's like you're up there naked playing Gilmore. He plays every note is perfect with David Gilmour, I think. I don't know how he does it. He's an amazing player. How's 25 or 6 to 4 coming? What really, and I should probably talk about this. You can see how messy my office is. I just got back. I come in and I leave from the office. I've been working every week on the road. So I just come in. I occasionally do some recordings. I say hi to my family. I say bye to my family. And yeah, so 25 or 6 to 4. It's been tough the last few weeks to get any practice. And I don't know, you know how it is when you don't play something for a while, your fingers forget it. And that one takes work, but we'll get it, promise. Okay. Dwayne and Dickie, always. Oh yeah, mid rider 335. Awesome. Awesome. You play 335. You played Midnight Rider on a 335. I dig it. That's good. All right. Yeah, they were the best. I don't know. I keep saying these guys were the best, but I say that about a lot of people. But Almond Bros, great stuff. How long have I been playing? Well, I started playing when I was, my mom made me play when I was 8. And she said you could pick piano or guitar. And I thought guitar was cooler. So I picked guitar. And that was it. And I played the Mel Bay books, baby. That's what I did. That's how I learned how to read and play Mary Had a Little Lamb and all that. That's how I did it. So don't go dissing Mel Bay. He's the best. Actually, you can Google this. Tommy Emmanuel and Chet Atkins did a great song, Ode to Mel Bay. It's pretty funny. You should Google it or look it up on YouTube. It's a funny song. It's good too. Baxter's. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So the solo to Hot Stuff. That's Donna Summer. I was really shocked when I heard that. It's a great solo. Yeah. Okay. Am I the same Mark that does a commercial for Chantix? He looks exact. No, I mean, yeah, that's me. I haven't been getting the royalty checks yet, though. Oh, funny. Oh, and so your Midnight Rider 335 is favorite guitars at 335. Hopefully he likes Larry Carlton too. Another one of my favorites. All right. Yeah, thanks. I hear a lot from folks, and it's really good to hear, people saying they appreciate the vids. I always dig that. So thanks so much. I really do. This has, I travel so much, and I really wouldn't even play anymore if it weren't for YouTube and you guys. So it's really, really been helpful and has kept me going and interested in this stuff. So, yeah. So, yeah, so I'll keep going for a minute or two, but I just want to say thanks a lot, and then we'll wrap this up in a second. I do have a couple of the Hal Leonard books. I wasn't, by the time I was a little bit older when the Hal Leonard stuff really got into prominence, I think in the 90s, but I have some of those. Yeah, I have some of that. Some of it's good. Yeah, some of it's really good. Some of it's not the greatest. I mean, just like Mel Bay. Chelsea, have I heard Chelsea Constable play? No, I never have. I should look her up. I'm assuming it's a her. Do I play ukulele? Yeah, I do. I do. My daughter learned ukulele, so we kind of learned it together. I play mandolin too. I play a decent bluegrass mandolin. Oh, Robin Ford and Larry Carlton. Mid-Rider 335, you and I got to talk. Yeah, BP Blues. Somebody asked for BP Blues, Larry Carlton, or Room 335. Yeah, awesome stuff. Robin Ford, talk to your daughter. Great stuff. I will look up Chelsea Constable. Promise. Okay, guys and gals. I'm going to sign off now, but thank you all for coming on and really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of the day Sunday, and I hope you got something out of this. This was fun to chat, so it was fun for me to chat and just give a little thing. All right. You bet. All right, I'm going to sign off, gang. Until next time, you are very welcome, and we will see you on down the road. Have a great, great week.